There are two words printed on the best chicken in the store, and the chicken that does not carry them has a secret. Those two words are AR chilled, and the package that does not say them was very likely dunked, along with thousands of other birds, into a shared tank of cold, chlorinated water, where it swapped germs with every carcass in the bath and soaked up water that you then paid for by the pound at the register. That is the difference almost nobody at the meat case understands. And it is the line between a store you can trust with chicken and a store you cannot. Because most American chicken is chilled the cheap way in a communal water bath, and it comes out heavier, wetter, and mingled with whatever the other birds in the tank brought with them. The better way AIR chilling never puts your bird in a shared bath at all, cooling it with cold air instead, so it leaves the plant cleaner and drier and honest about its weight. Here is the one thing to carry with you because it decides everything on this list. Water-chilled chicken, the standard cheap kind, actually gains weight in that bath, soaking up water it then carries all the way to the shelf and into your pan. Air-chilled chicken, the good kind, loses a little water instead, so what you pay for is meat, not liquid. One of them is a bird that sat in a crowded shared tank with thousands of others. The other never did. That single difference, water bath versus cold air, runs quietly through every store we are about to name. And once you can see it, you cannot unsee it. It is printed right there on the good packages and conspicuously missing from the bad ones. So we are going to count down the 12 worst grocery stores to buy chicken from bad to absolute worst. Then flip to the 4 stores that actually do it right, ending with the one that flatly refuses to sell you water pretending to be meat. And once you have the stores, I will show you exactly why supermarket chicken is riskier than you think, in ways the labels work hard to soften, and give you 5 simple rules to protect your family anywhere you shop. There's a very good chance your regular store is on the wrong list. Let us find out, starting near the bottom and working our way down to the worst of all. Quick word before we begin. For the first time, the Hidden Menu and the Hidden Pantry have collaborated on something just for our viewers. The Hidden Guide. Over 200 pages of brand verdicts, restaurant ratings, and the better alternatives we recommend. Everything we've learned across both channels in one place. You'll find it at thehiddenguide.com. Now let's get into today's video. 12. Target. We start in the shallow end, at a store almost nobody thinks of as a place to buy chicken. And for good reason. For most of the country, the Target grocery aisle is an afterthought bolted onto a department store. And the poultry case shows it. What you find is sealed, case-ready chicken, very often previously frozen, with no meat department behind it and no one to ask. No butcher, no fresh cutting, no expertise in the building about that bird. It is convenient if you are already there for shampoo and a phone charger, and that convenience is the whole pitch. But nobody is minding that chicken the way a real grocer would. And because you wandered in for everything except poultry, your guard is all the way down when you drop a tray in the cart beside the towels. A raw bird deserves more than the half glance you gave the paper products because, unlike the towels, this one can make your family sick if it is mishandled, and there is not a single person in that aisle who knows the first thing about where it has been, how it was chilled, or what was added to it before it was sealed under that bright film. Number 11. Dollar General. Next, the store that is quietly becoming the only grocery for miles across huge stretches of small-town America, which is exactly why it belongs here. The chicken reflects that bare bones role completely. You are looking at frozen bags and boxes, breaded patties and nuggets, and the occasional frozen tender, no fresh case, no butcher, no whole birds, just the most basic processed poultry stocked beside the canned soup. For a family in a genuine food desert with no other option within a long drive, this has become the everyday reality, which is all the more reason to name precisely what it is. It is the bare minimum the supply chain can deliver, sold cheap, with none of the freshness or oversight a real meat counter would place between you and that bird. If it is your only choice, lean hard on the 5 rules coming up. Buy the least processed thing on the shelf, keep it frozen until you cook it, and never judge a bag of it by the cheerful picture on the front, because here the package is the only story you are told, and it is the least honest narrator in the building. Number 10. Trader Joe's. Now, one that is going to sting because the store is genuinely beloved and we are judging one thing only, chicken. On that one thing, Trader Joe's has a real weakness. There is no butcher counter anywhere in any location. No one breaking down birds, no one to ask, no whole chicken you can cut fresh. Every package is sealed, case-ready, processed and chilled far away and trucked into a cold shelf, and much of the standard line is the ordinary water-chilled commodity kind. You are buying on pure faith, with nothing to read but a barcode. Love it for the frozen aisle and 100 other things it does brilliantly. For fresh chicken, it simply cannot offer what a store with a real meat department can. And the cheerful packaging quietly counts on you never noticing the gap. It is not that the bird is uniquely bad here. It is that there is no path to anything better, no counter, no butcher, no question you can ask. So you are locked into the sealed commodity tray whether you wanted it or not. Number 9. Giant Eagle. Here is the first of the full-size supermarkets, and it earns its place by looking better than it is. Giant Eagle is a big familiar name across the Midwest with a proper-looking meat case, which is exactly what lulls you. But a great deal of what fills that case is store-brand, water-chilled chicken, cooled the cheap communal bathway, and in the value packs, injected with a solution to hold water weight. A handsome meat department out front does not mean the bird was handled with any more care than the discount tray 2 aisles over. It usually just means the same commodity poultry arrived in nicer packaging under an older, more trusted logo. The comfort of a name your family has shopped for decades is doing quiet work here, keeping you from turning the pack over to read the added solution line that would tell you what you are actually buying. Trust the process behind the bird, not the shine on the case. The polished front of a legacy supermarket is one of the most effective disguises in the whole grocery world, because it borrows the look of the old neighborhood butcher shop while running the same distant water-chilling, solution-injecting supply chain as the discounters. The building says craft. The label, if you read it, says commodity. Number 8, BJ's Wholesale Club. Now the warehouse problem. The whole appeal of a club store is buying big, and with chicken, that means the giant family packs and the multi-pound trays that are almost always the standard water-chilled commodity bird, frequently injected with a saltwater solution on top of it. 2 things stack against you at once. You are paying for that added water across every single pound of a very large package, so the plumping tax is multiplied by the size, and you are bringing home far more raw poultry than one meal needs, which means more thawing, more handling, more chances to spread bacteria around your kitchen before it ever gets cooked. Bulk feels thrifty, and for paper goods it truly is. For chicken, it often means buying a great deal of salt water at once and juggling a great deal of raw bird. So if you are going to do it, split and freeze the moment you get home, and read that solution line before it ever reaches the register. And do the arithmetic once because it is sobering. If a 15% solution is hiding in a 5-pound pack, that is the better part of a pound of brine you are carrying home at full chicken price, again and again, every single restock. Number 7, Food Lion. A discount banner built around the lowest possible shelf price. And with chicken, the low price has to come from somewhere. It usually comes from the cheapest water-chilled, enhanced, store-brand birds plumped with a saltwater solution so that a real share of what you carry home is liquid, not meat. There is nothing exotic about the failing. It is a chain competing as hard as it can on price. In regions where price wins, and chicken is one of the easiest places to quietly add water and a shave cost. The shopper sees a great number on the label and never learns that part of that cheap pound is brine. They will watch pour into the pan the instant the heat hits it. You reach for the cheapest tray feeling careful with money, and you carry home a pound that is part salt water, then watch a third of your bargain steam away and weep out of the pan, which is the most expensive kind of cheap there is. Before we climb into the true bottom of this list, hold the core picture steady for a moment, because it is easy to lose in a run of store names. Every place we have hit so far fails on the same two things. The bird was cooled in a shared water bath, swapping germs and soaking up weight, and then, very often, injected with the salt water solution on top of that, so you pay twice for water you never wanted. No butcher, no air chilling, no answers, just a sealed tray of heavy, salted, anonymous poultry wearing a friendly price. The names change as we go. The model underneath does not. Keep that fixed, and the rest of this countdown reads itself. Number 6. Meijer, a Midwestern supercenter giant and a clean example of scale-swallowing care. Meijer moves an enormous volume of chicken, and the great bulk of it is commodity, water-chilled store-brand poultry, much of it enhanced with solution, processed at central plants, and set out in a long case with little to no real butchery behind it. This is the supercenter model applied to a living animal, chicken treated as one more pallet to push through the building at the lowest possible cost, stocked somewhere between the electronics and the garden mulch. The store is enormous and the selection looks huge, which reads as choice, but on fresh chicken the choice is mostly between different sizes of the same water-heavy commodity tray. Volume is the entire business, and volume is exactly what turns a bird into an anonymous unit that nobody in the building ever really looked at. The bigger the store, the longer the supply chain behind each tray, and the less anyone standing in it can tell you about the animal inside the plastic. A cavernous store with everything under one roof is wonderfully convenient, but convenience and traceability tend to pull in opposite directions, and on chicken, it is traceability you actually want. Number 5. Stop and Shop, a Northeast staple under one of the big grocery conglomerates and a textbook case of the sealed, case-ready model. Nearly all of the chicken is processed off-site, water-chilled, shipped in and set out under familiar packaging, much of it enhanced with an injected solution the label is legally required to admit if you bother to look. The name is old and comfortable, the kind your family has trusted for 2 generations, and that comfort is precisely what stops you from turning the package over to read the solution line. A trusted name on the sign is not the same as a trusted process behind the bird. And here the process is the same cheap communal bath as everyone else at this tier, only dressed in heritage. Familiar logo out front, plain commodity bird inside, and a whole lot of shoppers who never once suspect the difference. That is the quiet power of a heritage name in the grocery business. It does the reassuring for you, so you stop checking, which is precisely when the added solution line slides past unread. Number 4, Albertsons and Safeway, now a giant that runs dozens of familiar regional banners under one roof, and the trap here is subtler and more frustrating than anything above it. These stores very often do have a meat case that looks like a real butcher counter, which fools you on sight. But a great deal of what actually sits in that handsome case is still case-ready store-brand chicken, enhanced with solution processed at a distant plant and merely set out by the staff to look fresh cut that morning. The appearance of a butcher shop without the substance of one is arguably worse than honest bare shelves, because it earns a trust it has not done the work to deserve. You think a craftsman prepared your dinner. In truth, a truck delivered it, water weight and all. The single question that cuts through the whole display is simple. Was any of this handled here, or did it arrive sealed, And at a lot of these big banner stores, the honest answer is the second one, however much the arrangement wants you to assume the first. Number 3. Aldi. Aldi has earned a devoted following for its prices, and fair enough, it saves families real money every week. But the very model that makes it cheap is what makes it weak on chicken. There is no butcher counter by design, central to keeping costs down. Every package is case-ready, water-chilled, processed elsewhere, and shipped in. And much of the standard line is enhanced with an added solution to hold that heavy, wet look across a lean supply chain. You cannot ask for anything cut fresh. You cannot see a whole bird handled. You cannot speak to a soul about what was pumped into it. The savings are genuine, and for a great many households, the reason Aldi is a lifeline, so this is no scolding. It is simply the honest note that on chicken, the deep discount often includes a quiet discount on how much of the package is actually meat, and the only defense is to flip the tray and read the solution line yourself, because no one in the store will read it for you, and no butcher will ever step out to tell you what really went into that bird. Number 2, Walmart. The largest grocer of them all and the purest expression of the commodity bird. Walmart sells more chicken than nearly anyone in America, almost entirely as commodity, water-chilled, case-ready poultry, much of it enhanced with solution processed at central plants, shipped nationwide, and stocked with no on-site butcher at the great majority of its stores. It is every shortcut this list has named, gathered into one place at the largest possible scale. The communal chilling bath, the added water you pay for, the store brand anonymity, and the rock-bottom price that can only be reached by selling you liquid and salt along with the meat. None of it is illegal, and almost none of it is unusual in the modern grocery business, which is the whole unsettling point. It is simply the biggest, most anonymous version of the water-heavy commodity bird there is, sold to more families in more towns than any other source in the country. Only one thing keeps it off the very bottom, and that is a chain that pairs this exact same commodity model with even more of a specific chicken-shaped risk. On reach alone, Walmart would be the easy pick for worst, and plenty of lists would stop here. But worst for chicken is not only about how much is sold, it is about how the particular dangers of poultry get multiplied, and there is one name that manages to do that on nearly the same scale. Number 1, Kroger. And the single worst place to buy chicken is one of the very largest grocers in the country. Because here the commodity model collides head-on with the one fact that should be ringing in your ears by now. Selling raw chicken that carries salmonella is completely legal, and Consumer Reports has found a large number of poultry plants running high contamination levels. Now put that together with an operation this size, sourcing store-brand water-chilled birds by the trainload and distributing them nationwide under a single house label. When something does go wrong in a supply pool that vast, it does not go wrong quietly in one kitchen. It goes wrong across a whole region at once, in countless homes that all bought the same anonymous, plumped, communally chilled bird from the same enormous system. The added water, the shared bath, the legally permitted salmonella, the house brand anonymity, and the sheer nationwide reach all land in one place right here, which is why for chicken specifically, this is the bottom of the list. The bigger and cheaper the supply, the wider the blast radius when a bad batch slips through. And nobody distributes more house brand raw chicken to more American homes. That is not a knock on one company's ethics so much as a warning about scale itself. When the same anonymous water-chilled plumped bird flows out of one giant system into millions of kitchens, the ordinary risks of commodity chicken stop being personal and start being national. Bigness is the multiplier, and here it is multiplying the exact thing you least want multiplied. So that is the 12. And if your regular store is sitting somewhere on it, please do not panic because the 4 coming up next prove it can be done right, and the rules at the end protect you no matter where you shop. The store is only half the equation, and the other half, what you do standing in front of that case and standing at your own stove, is entirely in your hands. Before we get to those 4 good stores, take 1 second and hit that subscribe button because we dig into the hidden truth behind the everyday food you buy every single week. The things hiding in plain sight on labels you have read 1,000 times. And the next thing we pull apart might be sitting in your cart this very afternoon. Then stay right with me because next come the 4 stores that actually do it right, and the number 1 flatly refuses to sell you water pretending to be meat. Now the 4 stores that actually do it right. Enough of the warnings, these 4 prove it can absolutely be done well, that a grocery chain can choose to put real care and real cost into the meat case instead of quietly adding water and hoping you never notice. They climb toward the 1 store that erases every trick this video has named. Watch what lifts each of them onto the good list, because it is always the exact thing the bad 12 were missing. A real bird, a real person, real standards, real answers. And notice that only 1 of the 4 is what anyone would call expensive, which means eating honest chicken is far more within reach than the bad list wants you to believe. Number 4, Costco. A surprise to some because Costco sells those same big packs we warned about, so why is it on the good list? Because of what stands behind the package. Costco has built one of the most rigorous testing programs in the entire meat business, checking aggressively for exactly the bacteria that make chicken risky, at a level and frequency most sellers do not come close to matching. And it has been willing to hold product back rather than sell through a doubt. It also offers organic and air-chilled options for shoppers who look for them, alongside its famous everyday value, so the better bird is there if you reach for it. You still want to read labels, portion and freeze those big packs sensibly, and cook everything to temperature because volume is still volume, and a warehouse pack is still a lot of raw poultry to handle at once. But pound for pound, the controls and the testing standing behind Costco's chicken are stronger than almost any other high-volume seller in the country, and that quiet, expensive diligence happening where no shopper ever sees it is worth real trust. When a company that big decides to test that hard, it is spending money on your safety that it could easily have kept, and that choice shows up in the reliability of what ends up in your cart. Number 3, Publix. Here is what a real meat department looks like. At Publix, you will typically find actual butchers in the store, a genuine service counter, and staff who will cut and prepare chicken to your order rather than just stocking sealed trays from a plant 1,000 miles away. You can talk to a person, ask for exactly the cut you want, ask what came in fresh today, and get a straight answer about the bird. That alone vaults it past every anonymous case-ready operation on the worst list. A chain that keeps skilled butchers on the floor in every store has chosen the harder and costlier path on purpose, in wages and training and time. And your chicken is the direct beneficiary of that choice. When you can stand at a counter and watch a person you could name handle your dinner, you have already left most of this list far behind, because you have traded a sealed mystery for an actual conversation. Number 2, the fresh market. The fresh market is the boutique of this list, and for chicken, it earns the spot on genuine craft. Every single store keeps expert butchers on the floor at all times, and the meat is hand-cut and trimmed to order rather than pulled, sealed off a truck, and set in a case to look fresh. The birds themselves are held to real standards, raised antibiotic-free on a vegetarian diet, and certified to animal welfare programs that actually carry weight, nothing like the empty flags waved on the bad list. So you get both halves of the answer at once. A better raised bird to begin with, and a skilled human hand to prepare it and answer for it. That combination, a decent bird plus a working butcher counter, is exactly what nearly every store on the worst list was missing. Yes, it is the priciest name among these four, and it wears that openly. What you are actually paying for is a real butcher and a bird with a known decent life behind it, which is the precise opposite of the anonymous water-heavy commodity tray you started this video learning to avoid. Number 1. Sprouts Farmers Market. And the one store that answers the exact question this whole video asked, is Sprouts Farmers Market, and the reason it takes the top spot is beautifully simple. Sprouts carries AIR chilled organic chicken in every one of its stores as a standard offering, not a rare specialty you have to hunt for. Remember the entire spine of this video? Air chilled means the bird never sat in a communal water tank, never soaked up water you pay for at the register, never swapped germs with thousands of other carcasses in a shared bath. Sprouts made that the default, and then put a real butcher counter behind it, staffed by people who will cut to order and answer for the bird with sourcing standards that rule out the plumping and the routine antibiotics. And here is the twist that earns it number 1 instead of just very good. It is not the priciest store on this list. It thinks of itself as a farmer's market, and price is far closer to a regular grocery than to a luxury one. So the single best answer to a video about water-chilled, solution-plumped, anonymous chicken turns out to be an affordable store that simply refuses to sell you any of it. The bird that began this journey as a commodity from a crowded tank becomes here exactly what you always thought you were buying: clean, air-chilled, honest meat at a price a normal family can actually reach. That is what doing it right looks like, and it does not require a fortune. That is the whole map. 12 stores where the chicken is a water-chilled, solution-plumped, anonymous commodity, and 4 that still treat poultry like real food worth handling with care. But knowing where to shop is only half of it, and the other half is the part that protects you even on a week when the only store within reach is one of the bad 12. So stay with me, because now I will show you exactly why supermarket chicken is riskier than almost anyone realizes, in ways the cheerful front label works hard to hide, and then hand you 5 simple rules that protect your family in any store on earth, even the worst 12 we just counted down. This is the part that turns everything you just watched from a list into a habit. Why supermarket chicken is riskier than you think. Start with the fact that should genuinely alarm you, because it changes how you cook. In beef, the dangerous strain of E. coli is treated as an adulterant, meaning contaminated product is illegal to sell and gets recalled the moment it turns up. Raw chicken does not work that way at all. Salmonella, the main danger in poultry, is not treated as an adulterant. In plain English, it is completely legal to sell you raw chicken that has tested positive for salmonella. The government spent years developing a plan to tighten that, proposing to declare high salmonella chicken adulterated, and then withdrew the whole plan a couple of years back under industry pressure. So the old rule still stands: contaminated raw chicken can go right onto the shelf and into your cart legally with no recall and no warning to you. And it is not rare. Consumer Reports testing has found salmonella in a large share of chicken, nearly a third of ground chicken samples in one investigation. And most of those carried the strains that make people the sickest. Chicken is tied to something like a couple 100,000 salmonella infections in this country every single year, with tens of thousands of hospitalizations behind that number. There was an infamous case a little over a decade ago where an outbreak traced to one company's chicken sickened hundreds of people across many states over more than a year, and the product was not even recalled for most of that time, precisely because selling salmonella-tainted raw chicken is not against the rules. The lesson is stark and oddly freeing at the same time. You genuinely cannot assume the bird is clean, so your own kitchen is the real safety step, and thorough cooking is the one defense that never, ever fails you. This is not a reason to be afraid of chicken. It is a reason to respect it. Handled with a little care and cooked properly, even a bird that arrived carrying something is completely safe to eat, which is why the rules at the end matter as much as the store you chose. That is why every piece of chicken has to reach 165 degrees in the thickest part, measured with a thermometer, not guessed by color or by how the juices look. It is also why you should never rinse raw chicken in the sink, a habit millions of people have and swear by, because all rinsing does is aerosolize those bacteria and spray them across your counter, your faucet, your dish towel, and whatever food is sitting nearby. The heat of cooking destroys salmonella completely and reliably. Rinsing does not remove it, it just relocates it, often onto the salad you were about to eat raw. Now the chilling, the heart of this whole video. Most American chicken is cooled after slaughter by immersion in a communal cold water bath, often treated with chlorine or a similar antimicrobial. It is fast and cheap, and it does knock down bacteria overall, which is the industry's honest defense of it. But it carries two costs the industry would rather you not dwell on. The first is cross-contamination, because bird after bird after bird passes through the same shared water, and whatever one carcass sheds, the next one can pick up. One study found fewer air-chilled carcasses testing positive for salmonella than water-chilled ones. Exactly the pattern you would expect when you stop dunking thousands of birds in a common tank. The second cost hits your wallet on every trip. The carcass literally soaks up water in that bath. Water-chilled birds gain several % of their weight in retained water, while air-chilled birds, cooled by cold air in a room instead, actually lose a little. So the cheap method adds water to the bird, and then you buy that water back at chicken prices by the pound every time. Multiply that across every shopping trip, across a whole country, and it adds up to consumers paying an enormous sum every year for nothing but added water weight. It is one of the quietest, largest transfers of money in the grocery store, and it happens one heavy tray at a time, to people who have no idea it is even occurring. Then comes the plumping, which is worse. Many processors go a step further and inject the raw chicken with a solution of salt water, broth, and additives like phosphates that help the meat grip and hold even more liquid. This is why a label may read enhanced, or basted, or self-basted, or contains up to some percentage of solution. On a plumped bird, a genuinely large chunk of the package weight is nothing but salt water. It floods your pan so you can never get a proper sear, releasing a pool of gray liquid and steam instead of a golden crust. It can turn a plain, unseasoned breast into a serious sodium load, several times the sodium of natural chicken, which matters enormously to anyone watching their blood pressure. And you paid full meat prices for every ounce of that water. Reading that one line on the label and refusing the birds that carry it is quietly one of the highest value habits in the entire grocery store, and it costs you nothing but a moment of attention. A few more quick tricks worth knowing, because they all work the same way. The word fresh on chicken is far looser than you think, because the rules allow poultry to be labeled fresh as long as it was never chilled below 26 degrees, which is already several degrees below freezing. So a fresh chicken can arrive nearly hard as a brick and still wear the word completely honestly. The phrase "no hormones added," splashed proudly across so many packages in big friendly letters, means absolutely nothing, because hormones are flatly illegal in raising any poultry in this country and have been for decades. Every chicken in the store is hormone-free by law, so that label is pure marketing, decoration dressed up as a virtue, usually with a tiny asterisk admitting federal rules prohibit hormones in poultry anyway. And that sell-by date stamped on top is not a federal safety line either, just an inventory note telling the store how long to keep it on display. None of these are outright lies. They are simply words arranged to let you assume the best, while the real story sits quietly on the back of the pack, in the small print, where they are betting you never look. One last thing to notice with your own eyes. The birds themselves have changed. Chickens are now bred to grow enormous, breast-heavy, and astonishingly fast, and researchers link that breakneck growth to muscle problems you may have seen without knowing the name. White striping, those pale fatty streaks running through a raw breast and woody breast, a tough rubbery texture, are both increasingly common in fast-grown commodity birds. They are not dangerous to eat, but they are a visible sign of a bird pushed to grow faster than its own body was built for, and they are far more common in the cheap commodity chicken than in the slower-grown, higher-welfare birds the good stores carry. If you have ever cut into a raw breast and found it striped with white or strangely firm and rubbery, that was the fast-growth bird showing. And it is one more quiet reason the honest stores at the top of this list are worth the trip. 5 rules to protect your family anywhere. You will not always have a perfect store nearby, and life is busy, and sometimes the only option is one on the bad list. That is fine. These 5 habits travel with you and work absolutely everywhere, in any store, at any price point. 1. Look for AR chilled, or buy a whole bird. The single best move is to reach for chicken labeled AR chilled, which never sat in a communal tank and carries no added water, so every ounce you pay for is meat. If you cannot find it, buy a whole chicken and cut it into parts yourself, which is dramatically cheaper per pound, gives you a fresher and far less handled bird, and lets you skip the plumped trays entirely. Cutting up a whole chicken sounds intimidating and takes about 3 tries to feel easy, and it is one of the best money-saving kitchen skills there is. A whole bird is almost always a more honest purchase than the enhanced value pack sitting right beside it. 2. Read the added solution line and refuse it. Turn the package over and hunt for the words enhanced, basted, self-basted, or contains up to some percentage of solution or retained water. That line is the law forcing a confession that you are buying salt water along with your chicken. When you see it, simply put it back and find the package that does not have it. Plain chicken should have exactly 1 ingredient on the label, and that ingredient is chicken. Anything past that is something the processor added and you are paying for. 3. Cook to 165 degrees every time. Because salmonella is legal to sell on raw chicken, heat is your real protection, not the store's reputation and not the price you paid. Use an inexpensive instant read thermometer in the thickest part of the meat every single time, rather than trusting color or clear juices, both of which can fool you. This one step works no matter which store on this entire list the bird came from, no matter what was or was not on the label. The thermometer is the great equalizer, and it costs about the same as 1 premium chicken. Number 4. Handle it like it is contaminated, because it legally might be. Do not rinse raw chicken, which only sprays bacteria around your kitchen and onto foods you will eat raw. Keep it cold right up until it hits the pan. Carry it home in its own bag away from your produce. And wash your hands, your knife, and your cutting board thoroughly the moment you are done handling it. Assume the bird carries something, treat it accordingly, and then none of it can hurt you. This is not paranoia. It is simply matching your kitchen habits to what the law actually allows onto the shelf. 5. Ignore the flattering words, read the honest ones. Skip straight past no hormones added, which is meaningless on any chicken, and do not be reassured by fresh, which only means the bird was never frozen solid. The words that actually carry weight are AIR chilled, no added solution or a single chicken ingredient, and genuine animal welfare or organic certifications from a real program. Learn those few phrases, ignore all the friendly noise around them, and the entire marketing fog on the package simply burns off, leaving you looking at what the chicken actually is. Put those 5 together and you are no longer at the mercy of the store at all. You can walk into the worst place on this entire list, read past the flattering words to the honest ones, pick the least adulterated bird on the shelf, take it home and cook it safely, and you will eat better than the shopper beside you paying the same money for a plumped tray at a fancier chain. The store sets the options. You make the choice, and now you know how. So that is the entire picture, the stores and the science, both. 12 places where the chicken is a water-chilled, plumped, anonymous commodity dressed up with flattering words, 4 stores that still sell you an honest bird, and 5 rules that protect your family the very moment you decide to use them. And here is the thing to hold on to as you switch this off. None of these companies are breaking a single law. Nobody is sneaking anything past an inspector. They are simply, quietly counting on one thing: that you will never turn the package over, never read the added solution line, never wonder why that cheap bird weeps a whole pan full of salt water, and never once ask whether fresh and no hormones added mean anything at all. So turn it over. That is the whole lesson in 3 words. Look for AIR chilled, refuse the added solution, cook it through to temperature, and read the honest words on the label instead of the flattering ones. Do those few small things, and the chicken in your cart stops being a watery, anonymous, salted-up gamble and starts being exactly what you always thought you were paying for, which is simply good, clean meat. You do not need a perfect store to eat well. You just need to stop trusting the front of the package and start reading the back, where the truth was sitting quietly the whole time.